forgive me. I love me. I've been blessed that I have made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? I forgive me. I love me. I've been blessed that I have made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? Ooh, hey, yeah.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Therapy Session with Marlene and Tracy Lee. And I'm going to change this background right quick. Here we go. And my name is Gio. I am the content creator for Boss Life Online. Now, I just need to say this channel may not be for everybody, but it is for somebody. So with that said, we're going to have Marlene introduce herself and her channels. And then after that, we're going to go to Tracy Lee.
Hey guys, this is Marlene. I'm the content creator for Marlene Motivates, where I talk about inspiration and positivity and life lessons.
Okay. Tracy?
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I am Tracy Lee. I am the content creator for I Am Tracy Lee. I also have a ministry page, 365 Intentional, and also a podcast, which is Melanin TTV. So I am a content creator actively for all three of those channels.
All right. Thank you so much, Tracy. We're going to go to the chat and invite everybody in. We have Gamer Bro making money. Gamer Bro making money moves with Pandy. Let's and Edward Smart. Drake is in the house. All right, Edward Smart. Okay, so we're not going to prolong this talk because it's a great topic. It is one that I have been wanting to talk about, but I had to make sure that I wouldn't fall apart, okay? Because I had a death right in July of 2022 that broke my heart, and I was supposed to do this earlier, but I know that that wasn't the right time. But this is the right time. So our title today is, do you know about your inner child? Okay, so I wanted to look up what inner child meant. Do you know what your inner child actually is? According to Merriam-Webster, the inner child is the childlike, usually hidden part of a person's personality that is characterized by playfulness, spontaneity, and creativity. Usually, listen, y'all, it is usually accompanied by anger, hurt, fear, and to childhood experiences. So, guys, when I read this, I was like, so true, because most of the time for me, my hurt is over my mom's death, and that happened when I was 17. So, what I learned to do was to comfort the inner child, the teenager. Okay. So, what have y'all experienced something like that, Marlene or Tracy? So, we'll go with Marlene.
Okay. Well, I didn't I was experiencing this throughout my adolescence up until my teen years because I didn't even know I was going through. You know, when you don't resolve issues that you have from the past, it doesn't matter how old you are, you bring it into your present. So all my issues that I had as a child, I still was bringing them into my teen, even into my adult years, because I didn't even know that I needed to deal with my inner child.
All right. Thank you. That's so great, Marlene, because a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know. My therapist had to tell me, "Oh, we don't need to talk to the adult. We need to talk to that teenager. That's who's
Yes.
running your life." Okay. I went, "What? I'm the same person. I mean, I ain't no 3, 4 personalities here, you know." But she said that's not it. It is the hurt that you experienced when you was a teenager that you have not forgiven anything. You're still angry. You're still mad. But it took me a little while to get it. Okay, Tracy Lee.
Yeah, for me, I agree. The first time I heard the inner child phrase, we were actually having one of these conversations, and you mentioned that constantly remind my inner child that you are safe, that I will protect you, and that really resonated with me because I never really thought about that part of me that was hidden, afraid, fearful, and even some of the reasons why. And so I really began to start paying more attention, getting to know. A lot of people don't know. I said that to say all that to say a lot of people don't know that they have an inner child. They just think that this is just a part of my makeup. They don't really relate it to having to go back and deal with or heal from, those childhood traumas, and not even realizing that that's a lot of times spilling over in there right now. And so I think that, it's imperative to tap into that little girl, that little boy, that fearful girl, and, hear what they have to say. As children, too, I think growing up in our era, we're all around the same age. And so growing up in our time, we're not really vocal in our generation. Like our parents weren't the parents who we could go and just be really open to. I know for my house it wasn't like that. It was just you just deal with it. There were things that you just didn't talk about. You swept under the rug. And so we grow up with those things as well. And one of my traumas, I was molested by an older cousin. And around that time, a lot of times, even now, a molester will put fear into a child and tell them, if you say anything, I'm going to hurt your family members, or I'm going to hurt your mom, or even make it seem like it's your fault and it's something that you did wrong. And so if you go to tell somebody, they're going to look at you like you're wrong. And so you hold all of that in, and you carry all of that with you for those people who that's been their experience, and not realize that you take that into your adulthood, and it literally shows up in the form of being closed in, being withdrawn, being timid, not being able to really trust people. And so those areas, I just learned that really it's imperative to deal with it, because it's a part of healing. And a lot of times as an adult, you feel healed, but the child is still curled up on the inside, needing some nurturing, needing some love, and needing some reassurance that, like you said, Gio, I got your back. I'm not going to let anybody else hurt you.
Right. Thank you so much, Tracy Lee. I so much agree with both you and Marlene. So I just want to say to people, if you have hurt in your life and you are wondering why it still does hurt so much today, why does it make you feel uncomfortable? Why does it make you have uncontrollable anger? Try
Hmm.
to go back to that situation. Remember how old you were and speak to that person or that child, that little girl, that teenager, that little boy inside of you, because the person, the child, and who you are just one person. Okay? You will comfort that person or child by saying, for example, I got you, like Tracy Lee said. No one is going to hurt you. It is not your fault. I am the adult and I will take care of you. You can forgive now and you can be happy. Okay? Because I got you and no one will hurt you. Well, when I was in the chair talking to my therapist, about these things and what I learned to do. Seems to me I was doing this about what? Trying to talk to my inner child and trying to forgive folks for 3 years. But finally, y'all, I got it under control. And when I forgave myself and the people who hurt me, that's when my life turned around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I felt true happiness for G.O. Okay. And I was in control of my life and not that 17-year-old that lost her mom. Okay. I will always love my mom and I will always, love her and I would never forget her. But I had to let go
Mm-hmm.
because that 17-year-old, she needed comfort. She needed to know that what happened to your mother is not your fault.
Yes, I
Okay.
agree. Yes.
What happened to my mom was not my fault. It was nothing I could have done. Okay. It was lucky that we got our lives. Okay. So I really had to go back and comfort my inner child, letting her know that I have done some work today. You know, I know that it's not our fault. I need you to be in acceptance of that with me. Okay. So Marlene, do you have anything else to say on this before we move to how to heal the inner child?
Yes, well, I've spoke about this before, but I came from a dysfunctional family where there was absolutely no communication, no types of affection and love. So I never felt, even if I wanted to say something, I never felt that it was going to be a safe space for me to express myself. Because anytime I started to talk about anything like I feel or I want or I need, it was like a personal attack. What do you need? You got a roof over your head, you have this and you have that. They were only thinking about you have material things, but there's more to a child than just material things. You need that emotional support, you need the spiritual support, you need the physical support. All of those things come together to make you a whole person. So of course, because I didn't feel safe, I was hiding a lot of secrets and things that had happened to me in the family and other things and other traumas, because I didn't feel like I could have anybody to protect me. I think that that was my major issue. I never felt safe. So all the rest of my life, I was always very defensive. Anybody could like, why are you here? Like, don't get too close to me. Like, don't touch me. Don't look at me. It was always those things. My guard was always up. So I had to learn to trust not only myself, but other people, and had to stop blaming other people for what somebody else had done, because I said, well, look, and they're a man, or they're the age that that lady was when they did that to me. So I had to learn to forgive and heal those pieces of me so that I wasn't taking it out on other people that came into my life.
Do you
Yes,
feel
I
like
totally agree. Yeah, I agree. Um, One thing that's stuck out with me, Gio, that you said, and I think it's very significant for us to kind of touch on, is that it took you 3 years. Um, that's very important to understand that. How we're right now, we're in a microwave society. We want to see quick results. I don't want to feel like this. They're telling me, I can address my inner child. I can talk to my inner child, but I want to see quick results pretty much. You said it took you 3 years. And
yeah,
so it's going to take some work. It's going to take work. And it is important to remember that it didn't take that child, overnight, or how you throw something in the microwave, push 30 seconds, it is ready. It didn't take 30 seconds. It took time,
yeah,
for you to get in that condition, to be in that traumatized place, to you coming out. So and the process of getting to know your inner child, and even addressing some of the traumas that your inner child has faced, you have to be patient with your inner child. You have to be kind to your inner child, and you have to take time with your inner child, because it's going to take time. It didn't take a couple of minutes again to get to that place. And so allow yourself the time and the space. I love that you said it took you 3 years, and it's a progressive work. It's something that you have to continue to do. You don't give up on the child, because the child ain't going nowhere. They're still there. It's a progressive work. So I think that's important to I wanted to point
Yeah.
that out as well.
Yeah. Recovery doesn't happen overnight. You know, recovery from a trauma or doing inner child work, it takes time, you know, and it took time for me to even trust myself that I could take care of my inner child. You know what I'm saying? And so, no, anything that we say up here, we just didn't sit in the chair and then the next day we got up and we was healed. No, we're not saying that. We're just telling you what we went through, you know, and telling you how we got healed, and how we still have to comfort our inner child, because I still have to comfort that 17-year-old. Because if I don't, she will get mad at you, baby. And some of the stuff she say, baby, let me tell you, I wouldn't even believe that was Gio. This is why I do the work, because I already know if I don't do the work, that stuff will come back. You know, and even though, yes, I have healed my inner child, yes, so that I can talk to her and tell her, shut up, I got
That's
you.
right.
You know, I got you. I am the adult. I will protect you. I will be there for you. No one is going to do you no any kind of way, because we're not going to stand for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I heal my inner child enough to use the tools that my therapist taught me to use. All right, Marlene, you have anything to say?
Yes, definitely. I had to, well, my thing was a progression in getting to know actually who I was. So I had to build within myself all of the things that God had downloaded inside of me. I had to believe in that. So anytime where I start stepping outside of that, I have to reassure that little girl that that's who you were, but that's not who you are today. So I have to reassure her and say, little Marlene, it's okay. It's okay. We know we're worth it now. We know we little Marlene, you don't have to compare yourself to somebody else. Little Marlene, you can be happy for somebody else besides yourself.
I love it.
I have to reassure that little girl within me and tell her, you don't have to be jealous. You don't have to compare. You're worth it. You're smart enough. You're capable. Because if you don't reassure the little inner child within yourself, that's where you start going outside and saying, getting jealous. Oh, and how come they have this and why that? And I hate them and I can't stand them. It's because you haven't done the work and looked inside of yourself and questioned, why am I feeling this way?
Right.
And then when you start doing that work and analyze it, then you can say, oh, because of this or that. So it's important to reassure yourself and remind yourself sometimes it's okay. You're smart enough. You're confident enough. You're worth it. You're capable. And then you can get through and go to the next level.
Right. That journey back to my inner child was tough, because see, she had put up so many walls because of the pain was just too great. You know, and me being, and you know, I had a good therapist, y'all, because she told me, you need to get with God, because it's too much for you, you know, and you're never going to get to that inner child. This is why I can sit here and say, thank you, Jesus, for my journey.
Yes.
Okay. Because now I get to share it with somebody else that will probably say to them, say, I don't know how they did it. I did it through Jesus Christ. I did it by writing, Dear God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, you got to come on and help me.
Come on.
That's what you said you was going to do. Now I'm believing in it, and you got to help me go back and talk to her and help her understand that I will take care of her and nobody else is going to do anything to her. Or anything, you know, because I love her. So no, the journey back down that road where I come from was not easy. But because I had a good therapist told me to go back to God, because that's where I come from. Church 24/7, played piano, was the Sunday school superintendent, had a good voice, had sung in a gospel group. I was with the Lord back then. But when that happened, I just say, forget it, ain't no God. Okay? So I'm just telling y'all, if it's that journey back to your inner child or that situation that hurt you so bad is hard. I don't know who believe and who don't or whatever. But back then I didn't until till I knew that I needed God. And she told me that's what I needed to do. And then she told me to write, Dear God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, until you can accept God back in your life. And that is why I'm sitting here today. And I told God, if you just help me get free of this mess, which ain't my fault.
Right.
You know, I would tell people how I did it. So I am so glad that we have these sessions, ladies, because
Yes.
that
Yes,
is my
definitely.
purpose, is to tell people how I did it. Now, how I did it may not be for you, but how Marlene did it may be for you. How Tracy did it may be for you. That's why we come together for these types of meetings, so people can relate to some. You're gonna relate to one of us. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna move into how to heal. Once you make that journey on back and you go back to that situation and you see that person who hurt you or done something to you, you know, you have to have a way to heal that inner child. Okay, so the first thing, and I took this information from the internet, which is so true, because everyone, whether you know it or not, has an inner child. You
Yeah.
might see this inner child as a direct representation of yourself in your early years, a patchwork collection of mental stages you pass through are a symbol of youthfulness, dreams, and playfulness. I need to slow it down because I feel the Holy Spirit, and it is like woo, woo, woo. Okay, okay, and because I'm just grateful, y'all, for who I am today. Tracy, you know where I'm coming from, right?
Yes, I do.
Pauline, you know where I'm coming from, right? And awareness of your inner child can help you think back to lighter, carefree days. Now, this was explained by a Dr. Diana Rahab, author and research psychologist. Being in touch with the joys of childhood can be an excellent way of dealing with challenging times. Not everyone associates childhood with a playfulness fun, though. If you experience neglect, trauma, or other emotional pain, your inner child might seem small, vulnerable, and in need of protection. You may have buried this pain deep to hide it and protect yourself, but your present self and the child, both you today and the child back then, okay? See, we hide the pain, just like Tracy said, because that's the only way we know how to protect ourselves. But today we're going to tell you how to go back and fix this. Hiding pain doesn't heal it. Instead, it often surfaces in your adult life. Lord have mercy, I'm telling you. That's how come we all three of us was in the chair.
Yes.
Okay? Hiding pain doesn't heal it. Instead, it often surfaces in your adult life, showing up as distress in personal relationship. Yeah, that pain can just we really want this relationship, but when that pain show up in it, we don't know how to act. Most of the time we run. I know that's what I did, okay? But showing up as distress in personal relationships or difficulty meeting your own needs. You can't even meet your own needs. Working to heal your inner child can help you address some of these issues. Number one, Marlene, it said first, acknowledge your inner child. Wow. First, you have to acknowledge something ain't right. Why, when this particular situation happened, I act like I'm a child? Come
You
on,
triggered.
right?
Why you triggered?
Yeah. Why am I acting like a 17-year-old? I shouldn't even be this mad. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so you have to go back and you have to acknowledge something is wrong. You know, you have to acknowledge it's got to be, if you can figure out when you felt this type of hurt, and you figure out it was in your teenager years, or you were 7, or you were 8, or however old you were, that's where you need to start, and you need
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge it. I, I acknowledge my 17-year-old in my life. You know, I acknowledge that 17-year-old got mad hurt. Okay, I acknowledge that I have a inner child that I need to find out what is going on. That's your first step right there. Is to acknowledge the hurt and the pain,
Mm-hmm.
and then to listen to that child to see how they felt during that time. That right there will tell you how to protect that child. Okay, so that's the first step. So I want to go to the chat right quick, and let's see. Miss Nita Boo is in the chat. Miss Ray is in the chat, and Pandy is in the chat, and Edward. Thank you guys so much for being here. So let's move on to the first thing to do is acknowledge your inner child. The second one, the second thing to do is listen to what your inner child has to say. My inner child was mad. I'm not even angry, y'all, was pissed off. Wanted to just wring somebody's neck for taking her mother away. Okay. What about you, Tracy?
I can definitely relate to that. I too lost my mom, and so it wasn't in a child as a child, but I felt like a child because I had not dealt with the inner child. Okay, and so this is what responded to it. When I buried my mother, I also buried myself. In essence, the same way that we bury the inner child. A lot of people, when they go to therapy, one of the first things that I know that therapists do is they try to tap into your childhood. They go all the way back because it's their job to get to the root of the matter. And so they want to come all the way back and try to identify where these traumas took place. For me, like I said, I think it goes all the way back. I was 5 years old getting a blood test. I remember being in a courtroom getting a blood test for paternity. Now, I looked exactly like this man, but of course, he had already had a family, which is also traumatic to a 5-year-old too, to find out that your father is someone who had stepped outside of his family to make you to go back to his family. So it's just a whole lot of stuff that this child had to deal with and carry as a child. And when you don't face and deal with it, guess what? You become like Gio said, you become very, very angry. You act out in anger. You make decisions in anger. Everything is anger. You become a bully. You can only give out of yourself. And you ever heard the phrase hurt people? And so you go around hurting people because you don't realize that that part of you that's hurting needs to be healed. And so I went all the way back to the paternity test because my mother was all I had. And so when I'm losing her as an adult, I'm losing her, but I go back to the child that was rejected by her father. I go back to the child that had to go through a paternity test and remember at 5 years old of being subject to people being in your mouth and doing what they do to try to determine if he's the daddy, right? He was the daddy, but of course, going through rejection and all of these things to losing the only person that's ever been there for me. And so, yeah, I bet when I buried her, I buried me, which buried the child even deeper. And so, yes, definitely, you have to acknowledge the inner child in order to make an acknowledgement that she needs help. She was deep. She was buried down there real, real deep. And so, again, it is the business therapist to try to get to the root of the matter, which in turn helped me to realize that I didn't just bury myself, I buried the child too. Everybody just under the dirt. My mother, just everybody buried, right? And so I began to learn how to dig myself out. And guess what? I'm still digging myself out. And every single day I acknowledge this inner child. I'm that much more closer to the surface. So I agree. You have to acknowledge something. You have to acknowledge that something is wrong. You can either come out better or bitter. And I just made the conscious decision that I wanted to be better. I didn't want to go through life hurting people because that's all that I had to give.
Yeah. Marlene, okay, we were talking about the first two tips on how to heal, how to get back and heal. First, you have to acknowledge your inner child, and then you have to listen to what the inner
That's
child
right.
has to say, Marlene.
Yes. Well, for me, my issues stemmed from in my childhood, feeling abandoned. It's very crazy to live in a house. Like I said, I came from a family, having 9 siblings, my mom and my dad in the house, but feeling that I was all alone. So when you feel isolated in a big group, I always tended to do that. Even when I was around other people, I would always find myself pulling back from a crowd and just always being by myself because I know by myself I'm safe. I don't know what these people are going to do. I don't know how these people would treat me and what they'll do to me. So I had to learn in my adulthood to stop, like I said, turtling, going back in my shell. Show people yourself, Marlene. And I have to speak to my inner child. And I noticed I started to do that in romantic relationships. Anytime it got tough or it got hard, I would start to start to isolate myself. Okay, time to step back, run away. Anytime I get scared, step back, run away before they hurt me, or when are they going to abandon me or treat me badly. And that cycle too, when I lost my parents, when I lost my child, all of those things, anytime I got into a situation to where I didn't feel safe or comfortable, I felt like I was that little girl who got abandoned all over again. It was like a cycle. I felt like I'm abandoned again, you know? And then I felt the guilt that when I lost my child, I was like, I abandoned her too. But, that's not my fault. So that's why I had to go back into therapy. It's not your fault you lost your child. But I was like, I just want her to know that, I loved her. It was not my choice. So I went through a cycle of that too. So it's a lot when you deal with your inner child, that it's not just the things that happened to you in your childhood.
That's right.
But after you hit another trauma, it's like you go right back into that loop all over again. And then you have to say, no, we're not doing that anymore. Now I have the right tools. Now I know who I am. Now I know I'm worth it. Now I know that I'm strong and I'm courageous enough. I can stand up for myself and love myself. So that's the tools that I have now that I did not have before. So it's very important to go back into your inner child, or you'll go down a rabbit hole of sadness and discouragement.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. And then when you get to that inner child, you have to really listen to what that inner child is saying to you. You have to you have to really listen, because when I listen, I went, ooh, Lord, what am I gonna do? And I felt the anger because I had buried it. And I was just trying to, go past it and live my life, but it would come up. I could never have a good relationship because it looked like I would pick men like my dad, and my dad was a ho, ho, ho. You know what I'm saying? And it's the truth. Back in the day, y'all know it. Y'all may not have experienced that, but I did, because my daddy had a whole nother family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then he would bring the children over there so that we could play with them. My inner child did not like that.
Mm-mm.
She wanted to wring his neck. Okay, so these are the things that I wouldn't have really known why I was picking the same kind of men. You know what I'm saying? I had to go back to, oh no, baby, we can't do that. We're not interested. Those are red flags. When them red flags come up today, I just look at them and go, bye. I don't have to be mean to them or nothing. I just know you are not for me. If I had not done my inner child work, I wouldn't have never known. I'd have steady been going that same rabbit hole, just like Marlene said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Okay. To open a dialogue and start the healing process, the therapist recommends writing a letter to your inner child. That was the first thing my therapist told me to do, write a letter. If you really want to know what is going on and there is some hurt and pain that you just can't get rid of, but you keep sweeping it under the rug, you write that letter. Okay? If you don't have enough courage to write it like I did, then you need to ask Jesus Christ, God, or whoever you believe in to help you write that letter and to go first. Okay? Because then if he go first, can't nothing hurt me. You see what I'm saying? So you might write about childhood memories from your adult perspective, offering insight or explanation for distressing circumstances you didn't understand back then. A few questions can also help get the dialogue going, like help you write that letter. You can just write, hello, inner child, how do you feel? How can I support you? What do you need from me? See, that was one of the main questions I asked my, that 17-year-old. What do you need from me?
Yes.
And so my inner child told me I need to feel safe. I can't be with no man I don't feel safe with. I'd rather be by myself. Because I will tell you, this inner child here is not playing. Okay? She don't want to be with nobody like my dad. Nothing like him. Because we wouldn't survive. Okay? It'd just be, we wouldn't even know who we were because it'd be all about them. See, and if I had not have done this work and discussed all of this with my therapist, I would have never known. I would have steady been Marlene trying to date somebody that didn't give a rat's butt about me. Didn't care about my dreams or my hopes. You know, they just want service. Baby, please, you better serve somewhere else today. You know? All right, let me move on. So sitting with these questions can often lead to answers, though it may sometimes it may be some time before your inner child feels safe and secure. So if you couldn't put nothing down on that paper right away, don't give up. Just keep trying, keep praying, and keep trying. Okay. So writing, even today, I write letters to my 17-year-old just to let her know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still protecting you, you know. Marlene?
Yes, and I just wanted to say that's something that I had to reassure, whatever age I was, like I think when I first started writing the letters was maybe about 10 years ago. And it was just reassuring, like, dear little Marlene, you don't have to be afraid anymore. Dear Marlene, you can believe in yourself. Dear Marlene, you're strong enough. Dear Marlene, you're beautiful. Dear Marlene, you don't have to change who you are. Dear Marlene, it's okay to be unique. So I had to, it was those things that I was building my confidence and my, love for myself, believing in the work that was inside of me, because not everybody grew up being fed that they're wonderful and beautiful and smart and they can do anything they want and you can be confident and go out there and do it and you can have a positive attitude. Because the way I grew up with was, women have, the bad attitude. Oh, and, shut up and I don't care. That attitude won't get you anywhere in life. I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be another generation of a bitter woman. I said, yes. I want to be a progressive woman. I want to be enlightened. I want to show people that I can be joyful despite my past. So that was what I wanted to give myself. Even if you didn't have it in your past, even if you're surrounded by people who aren't that way, it doesn't mean that you can't change it for yourself. And I remember the day that I decided, I said, today, little Marlene, you're making a decision to stand up even when nobody was standing up for you. Yes. And I felt the power. I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt everything. I felt like my ancestors were there cheering me on. I felt it. And I was like, yes, now it's your time to thrive. So I do think it's important to give yourself permission to thrive. And I had never heard that before I went to therapy. And if you think about it, if you've never grown up, being applauded or patted on the back for anything that you do, it's hard for you to keep moving forward because you never feel that anybody is proud of you. So if you are given that from somebody else, I learned I can give it to myself.
That's right.
Pat your own self on the back. Tell your own self you're proud of yourself. Tell your own self that you're strong and you can get
Yes.
through it. Don't look to anybody else to give it to you. And that's when I felt like I took my power back. And that's when the inner little Marlene felt like, it's okay. It's okay. Now I can try. Now I can stand up again. Yeah.
Right.
That was life changing.
Thank you so much, Marlene. That was a lot.
Yes, and that was
good
powerful.
stuff.
Mhm.
Yes. So now the next way to heal that inner child is meditation.
Mm.
Okay. So when I read this one, even though my therapist didn't talk, my therapist told me that I need to pray a lot. Okay. So I guess for me back then and still today I pray, was meditation for me because it helps you get more comfortable with unwanted emotions. Now, I want to speak on that because sometimes things from the past, you could be looking at TV, or you might run up on somebody and they trigger something, and then you find yourself want to just either lash out or just go back. That child want to lead. Let me tell you something. I have worked on myself so hard to when that happens to me, I just stop and breathe. And then I just say, I can't say it in the front of the person because I won't think I'm crazy. I just say to myself, Lil G, I got this. This person is not going to hurt you. This person is not going to say these things to you because I am the adult and I'm going to take care of it now. And I felt myself go, see, if you don't know how to, oh my God, Jesus Christ. If you don't get the tools to make your life better and to know when things are happening and that you don't have to speak out of terms or get mad at people and sock them in the face or what, that's what my inner child would love to do. Okay. And you can catch it like that. That lets me know I've grown up. That, my inner child just can't run my life just because I run into somebody that triggers me. Today, I can say, I got this. No, they will not do this, but I don't have to speak to a person like she would.
Right.
I can speak to a person. I don't even have to use a cuss word. Okay. I just tell a person how it is, and that's it. That's why I'm so straightforward. I am not going to let anyone hurt me ever again. I'm not.
I know that's right.
I've worked.
I know it's right.
Hard and sat in that chair, and I cried the big seeds out here, and nobody was there but me and my therapist. Not even my own family. My therapist and God and me. We were the ones. That's why I say, you have to pray and meditate. And when these things come up, just start meditating. God, here it comes. I need you. You need to go first. What about you, Tracy Lee?
So I love the way that you talk. We going into this part where it's on meditation. I think that's imperative. And it also is a part of listening to that inner child, because meditation is the listening part of prayer. So prayer is you making your requests, that's you pouring out your heart, that's you even making giving out affirmations on what you desire to see. And then meditation is you quietly listening for those responses or listening to that inner child, giving her opportunity to help you to understand the areas where she's still struggling. I love how you guys are saying little G and little little Marlene. I love it because that's who they are, And so another thing with triggers is imperative for me. I used to be like, oh, this person tricking me, that tricking me, this thing tricking me, that piece of meat tricking me, a piece of food tricking me, everything's triggering me. And then, in my meditation time, I could hear God say, be grateful for your triggers because they
Yes.
point you to where you're not healed. If you are triggered, then that is an area that you need to deal with because you're not healed. In a place of being healed, you're not triggered. And so if these things are still triggering you, then those are the areas that you are not yet healed. So be grateful for your triggers because they point you to where you are not healed. And so I just, I think it's important. I talk to my enemy, my inner child. And I said enemy, and I don't know why, but that's a part of our inner child because that inner child will tear stuff up. Okay, that inner child will wreak havoc. That inner
Yes.
child will go off and get you locked up. Okay, you hear what I'm saying? If you don't get that child under control, they will get you locked up. They will hurt somebody. They will rip out somebody's soul. And so it is important to heal her because she's not just hurting other people; she's hurting you. And so you have to let her know. And I love that, Gio, when you take, the authority and say, listen, I'm in control here. One of my letters, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna be done. I do write, I journal. And so I am writing in the essence to my, my inner child. And I'm talking to her the same way I would to my future self. A lot of times I'm apologizing and I'm also forgiving myself for things that, I hold myself in condemnation for, things that I blame myself for as a child, like that weren't my fault. Listening to Marlene, it was a lot like that. You couldn't just roll up to the adults. You don't get into adult conversations. And so I found myself too pulling back. And in my adulthood, I found myself being a whole lot introverted, not really liking people, but not liking to be around people. Because I knew that I was going to protect myself. I was going to hurt myself. I wasn't going to hurt myself, and I was going to be good to myself. And so, get a part of getting to the place of that child being healed is you knowing that I teach people how to treat me. And so I'm gonna come outside and I'm gonna come around 1, 2, 3 people, but they're gonna treat me the way I'm supposed to be treated. Okay.
Right.
Because we know our worth over here. And so we're not accepting anything less. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for the triggers. Yeah. Cause those are areas that okay, I may not realize that I'm thinking I'm all together good. And then I'm triggered by something. And that's an area that yet needs to be healed.
Right. Because, my 17-year-old, I still have to, I'm just grateful I know when it happens.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that I can just calm her down.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because see, and I'm just glad that I can share this. Marlene, you have something to say before we go on to the next one?
And I had to learn how to control my inner child as an adult because I didn't understand why people would say things about me. Oh, you have a bad attitude and you do this all the time and you're jealous. And I was like, and I always was the person that was blaming everybody but myself. I never knew anything about accountability. Everything was my mama, my daddy, my aunt, my cousin, my friend's fault, but I was the one that did it. So, speaking to your inner child, I had to get real with myself and look at myself in the mirror and say, what is it that you have done, Marlene? Certain things are out of our control, but there's some things that we cause. And that's about ownership and accountability, being an adult. And being that means that you don't want to cause other people pain and hurt and anguish.
Right.
I don't want nobody to hurt me. So I had to learn to grow up and say, just like you don't like to get hurt, you need to learn to control your attitude. You need to control the way that you treat other people. You need to control that you need to show up on time and you need to learn to stop wasting people's time. All of that was hard for me to own. And I sat on that couch for years and I was looking at my therapist like, what? Say what? Whose fault? No. That was my mama. That was my auntie. That was my brother. And
blaming everybody.
It was everybody's fault. It was the person I was in a relationship with, but it wasn't me. And she said, look, if you can't accept this, then you need to leave. I said, oh no, you I have invested.
He was putting you out.
The
therapist was putting you out.
Oh yeah, she tried to kick me out. She actually said, come on. She tried to pull me by my hand and said, okay, go ahead, open the door. And I was like, no. I said, honey, I've invested thousands of dollars. I ain't going nowhere. And she said, well, then that means that you need to do the work and you have to learn to accept responsibility for yourself. And I just started crying because I think, being the last child, my whole life, everybody had always tried to do everything for me. And now this was the first time in my life that this was something Marlene had to fix. Mm-hmm. Daddy couldn't bail you out, mommy, cousin. This was Marlene's stuff. So I had to learn to own my own mess and say, now you're going to have to stop doing this. And then she said, one thing at a time. So let's work on having a positive attitude. Let's work on, showing up on time, all of those things that are within your control. And that makes you feel better about yourself.
Child. I mean, mine told me if I didn't tell the truth and get down to where she needed me to go so that she could help me, that she'd just be taking my money. And she is not that kind of therapist. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Gio? What are you going to do? I said, don't put me in. I'll tell the truth. I'll tell the truth.
Now, isn't that just like children? We're talking about our inner children. Our children don't want to be accountable. Children want to blame everybody else. Children want to have the tantrums. That's just, and as adults, we do that.
Yeah,
that's how you know that child got to be dealt with, because you as an adult, you ain't got no business out here falling out and having no tantrums. So that's that child you need to deal with. But we do what we do. We have grown adult tantrums.
I mean, I see it happen on YouTube all the time.
Yes,
people be on
their
whole
videos out of it. They make whole videos out of it.
They be on their lives having temper tantrums, and I be like,
acting like 2-year-olds.
That's that child. They ain't dealt with that child.
And then they wonder why you don't come to their lives.
Yeah.
Because I cannot, it's certain people I can't have in my life. You understand? Because it's always an if for me. I don't want to go back, Tracy and Marlene, sitting on nobody's couch. Even though that's right. If I have to, but if I ain't got to, and I got all the tools I need and stuff, I'm not gonna hang with nobody that's gonna send me back there.
I know that's right.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna invite you in my life, and I ain't gonna be your friend. I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? And part of that, what I'm talking about, is that little bit of the 17-year-old saying, you need to protect me.
Yes, and also part of that is that we have to also learn that you have to have people that hold you accountable.
That's right.
That was something that I had to learn when I matured in my therapy, that even though you can be an adult, you can still be like your shoe size and not your age. So I had to start getting people to get me to be accountable when I started doing wrong. I say, you're backsliding. Right. You have to have people in your life that keep you accountable so that you cannot go back inward, go backwards instead of going forward, because your inner child will do that. Because for years, there's things that I wanted to do, but I would always go back to saying, I can't do it. And what if I fail? And what if this? And what if that? That I had to learn to let go of that and give myself permission and say, but today you're a whole adult, Marlene, and you can do it. Put on your big girl pants and go out and be successful. So that was the thing I had to learn, to give myself the permission to move forward, because if you don't hear that your whole childhood that you can do things, it's hard to start. But I had to start doing that for myself. I even wrote it down. Marlene, I give you permission to thrive. I give yourself permission to move forward and to advance. So if nobody has given you that, I learned that in therapy. I give you permission to advance.
My therapist had to say that to me. I give you permission to heal yourself. I give you permission to love yourself. And then once she starts saying it, I start writing it like Marlene. Gio, I give you permission to be happy. I give you permission to go be successful. I give you permission to have your own business. Baby, without my therapy, baby, for 5 years, I sit in that chair. I would not be successful today. My biggest success is I fought for my life. My other biggest, that's bigger than that, is I got Jesus back in my life. Those two things are the reason why I am successful today. Those two things is why I don't cry so much for my mama. Okay, I have tools today. So that brings me to the next one, which I use a ton to heal. Okay, and that is journal as your inner child. You know, I used to write, Dear God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, this is little G. And today I feel mad because I'm still not over this and this, and I don't know how to forgive. So you gotta help me. You gotta help me forgive people so that I can move on into another areas of my life that I need to heal. So with that said, Jesus, I'm waiting on you now. You know, I'm out the way, and then I would sign it, little G. And it would make me feel so good that I even had the nerve, you know what I'm saying, to write that. But what it did for me, it just made my faith more. It made me believe more, and it made me believe that God really is God. Be still and know that I am God.
Yes.
So that's what journaling did for me. Okay, so this is what it said right here. Once you're in the right mindset, write down a few memories and any emotions you associate with those events. Try not to think too carefully about what you're writing. Just let the thoughts flow onto the paper as they come up. Expressing them in an unchecked way can help you get to the heart of your inner child's pain. I used to write sometimes, I'm mad. A whole 3 pages. You know, and then
therapeutic.
And then one day I wrote, I'm mad about my father had 5 and 6 women and all these darn children we didn't know about until we get into our adulthood, and here they come.
Yes.
We like, who? You know, and then they want to be a part. Well, we brothers and sisters, and that was hard for me, even as an adult. You know, I had to pray about that, and it wasn't their fault, you know, and I knew that, but still, I just was, that was just too much for the girl. The adult part of me is saying, okay, let's try this. But my inner child was saying, no. You know, we don't like them. So you have to have that kind of insight within yourself to know what's really going on. And that, for me, I'm very truthful with myself. I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't want to go sit in the chair for 5 years no more. That was hard.
Yep.
Crying.
And expensive.
Yeah, it was expensive. And I can be real with me. You know, I can be real with Marlene. I can be real with Tracy Lee, because we all is accomplishing the same thing. We're trying to be the best us we can be. I feel comfortable around Tracy Lee because I know she's been where I'm being. I have been and trying to go, because I know I steady have to work on Gio. You know, Marlene, same thing. That's why me and Marlene hit it out so fast, and I didn't know why. And I believe it was a God thing.
It's a God thing, yes.
Yeah, because, and then once we start talking to each other, and I think I might have said, girl, I was in therapy. And she said, you too? And then I knew it was a done deal.
And
Tracy Lee. I just heard you speak one day, and I just knew we was gonna be friends. I said, this girl done been through something. She done made it through. Yeah, she can be my friend. You know, because there are certain people I cannot let be my friends because they too toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't going back. I'm gonna tell
I
you
know
now,
that's right.
I'm not going back. No,
I know
ma'am.
that's right.
Yeah,
Do
and
y'all want to go back?
mm-mm.
Not
And
me.
Gio, I wanted to piggyback on something that you had said. When I don't know if you all can relate to this, but in therapy, that was the first time in my entire life that I had mouthed the words that I love myself. It was
Wow.
like, I don't know, like the aha moment,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the first time in my life that I had ever said I love myself. And she said, so write down some things. And I remember writing down, little Marlene, I love you. And I sat back in my chair, like, I love myself? Like, and she said, you don't love yourself? And I said, I've never been introduced to loving myself. I know that I should. I've
Wow.
heard. You can hear those things. You hear that God loves you. You hear other people love you, but that's a declaration that you have to make over yourself and over your own
Mm-hmm.
life. And I had never declared that I loved myself. That was the first time. And I had to be 20, 22 years old at the time. And that was the first time in my life I had ever spoke over my life that I loved myself.
Wow.
And she just was so amazed. But that was the first time. And I said from that moment, I said, from now on, little Marlene, I'm going to try my best to love you even more. And I still have that. I still have that little note that I wrote in therapy, and you can still see all the little teardrops. I was crying.
That's powerful.
That paper is
Wow.
already filled up.
That's
But,
wonderful. That's wonderful, Marlene. I am so glad you got that. Let's move on to the next so that we can wrap this up because I got to go do Team Bill with Gio in a few minutes here. So we're going to go to, it says also you need to bring back the joys of childhood. See, once I got through all of that gritty, grimy, and crying the river and all of this, and Jesus is in my life, I start remembering something before the craziness in my family started. I started to remember some of the good times because there were good times in my family. There were good times. I remember my mom dancing with us. I remember her just cooking and just singing. And my dad, he had bought me a piano, and we used to sit around the piano and sing. I started remembering all of that. And that's when I said to myself, I have truly forgiven. Because before then, I could not remember no good stuff. Because I was so wrapped up in hurt and pain and hate. But after I got through it all and who I am today, I remember a lot of good stuff that happened in my family. That's why y'all hear me address some things about my dad. Because even though he was the way he was, it was some good things about him too. So that's why I know that I have truly forgiven my dad. Okay. And I will always love my mom, period. That's just a period on it. Okay. So let's just move on to, it says, bring back some of your joys of your childhood. This is what you'll get once you have went in and healed your inner child. The next thing it says, leave the door open. Healing doesn't always have a definite end. It's often more of an open-end journey. You started the process by reaching out to your inner child. Now you can cultivate this newfound awareness and continue to listen for your child's self-guidance as you move through life. And, when I read that the other day, I said, that's what my therapist said. That this is just an open-end journey, that I'm going to always be working on myself, and that I should always listen to my inner child. Even my inner child, y'all, Marlene and Tracy, has grew up. Okay? Because even though she was 17, I think she was 5 or 6. You know what I'm saying? But I believe because today I don't experience such hurt no more. You understand? It's just God. All I can say is God is good, and thank God for putting Beverly in my life, who was my therapist. She was a God-driven woman. Okay? Thank you. And then let's wrap this up. The next thing it says, talk to a therapist. or someone that you trust about past traumas because they can cause a lot of distress in your life. You think you may have gotten over it, but maybe you have not. So talk to someone that can help you, that you trust. But if you can afford a therapist, you can get one online. You don't even have to leave your house, okay? But the bottom line is this: when needs for love, recognition, praise, and other type of emotional support go unmet in your childhood, then the trauma that results can last well into your adult life. But it's never too late to heal. By learning to nurture your inner child, you can validate these needs, learn to express emotions in healthy ways, and increase self compassion and self love. Exactly what Marlene said. Exactly. You know, if no praise was ever given to you, no love was ever given to you, you have to give that stuff to yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
When I was growing up, and I just thank God my crazy parents, well, my daddy, my mama wasn't crazy, but my daddy, he praised the mess out of us. Okay.
Right.
So I was used to, because like I say, I learned how to play the piano. I wanted to have the baddest gospel group. We did. I wrote my lyrics for the songs. I wrote 2, 3 songs by the time I was 13. And my dad, not only my dad, but the sisters in the church, my pastor, everywhere we went and sung my songs, I got a lot of praise. So I was used to getting, you know what I'm saying, praise. But what I didn't get a lot was I love you.
Mhm.
I had to learn how to say that to myself. Okay. That and I didn't get a lot of encouragement about have your own business because my dad would teach the boys how to have their own business, but he would tell the girls to go get a husband and have some children. I ain't baby, I don't want I got one child, y'all, and I meant that. That thing hurted so much. I said, no way, no how, and I have learned my lesson. Okay, I'm an entrepreneur from the time I think I was born. You know, so I just know for me, I am just glad that I can sit here today without falling out this chair crying about my life. That I can share it with somebody. If it just helped one somebody, I am happy about that. So we're gonna wrap this up and let Marlene talk and Tracy Lee, and then we're gonna go ahead and close out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to anybody who is struggling and dealing with some issues from their past, you have to understand that it's a process. You know, life is a journey, and don't be afraid that you have a backstory. Don't be afraid that you have traumas. The first step to recovery is acknowledging and wanting to change what your present circumstances. And that's great. And be proud of that because most people in their entire life never give themselves permission to acknowledge that they have a pain. They always cover it and hide it, and they're angry and bitter. And I believe it comes with certain diseases and problems that come into your life. So you don't want to do that. Spend your life with joy and talk to your inner child, acknowledge your inner child, and give that inner child permission to thrive, and you can do it.
Trace.
Yes, I just want to close in saying that your inner child deserves to know that she or he is worthy, that she or he has purpose, that she or he is safe, and that or he is loved. And, it doesn't matter how long it took you to get to the place of realizing that loving you is important. Because, again, me too, I didn't tell myself that until I was an adult as well. And so I just want to encourage, as I always do, to just begin to speak those things out into the atmosphere in your life that you desire to see for you. And that includes dealing with the pain of your past, the trauma of your past. It may be uncomfortable, it may be painful, but some wounds are meant to heal uncovered. And so a lot of times we don't want people to see that area or that part of us, which therapy, that's where therapy comes in and is important. But you want to talk to somebody, you want to get it out. What Gio said as regards to journaling, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad, is a form of therapy because she's not carrying that anger any longer. Every single time she inks it down on the journal, she's letting a little bit more of it out. And so I just want to encourage you to, yes, do that. Be kind to yourself. Take up the habit of journaling and just writing out how you feel. That's a form of speaking to somebody. You can trust your own self to keep your secrets until you're ready to share them with someone else. And so
Right.
just going forward and just reminding your inner child that you support them. If nobody else supports you, I support you. I'm here for you. And again, I love the phrase, as Gio put it so eloquently, I'm not going to let nobody hurt you. We got this. When you get into the places of finding yourself having little grown-up tantrums, and you don't want to take accountability for nothing, know that that's the child showing up, and your inner child will embarrass you. So if you don't start dealing with it, she's gonna make you look crazy in these streets. Okay, he gonna make you look crazy in these streets. So I just want to leave you with just knowing that you are worthy. Begin to put things into the atmosphere that nobody has ever told you, like Marlene, and I love that. You begin to tell yourself, I do it too. I am powerful. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am influential. I am, I have purpose, and the more you say it, the more you believe it, the more you become it. So that's
Right.
encouragement. And what I want to leave for you, I really do encourage you to tap into that inner child before that inner child take over. Okay?
That's right.
I don't want that child to take over because she gonna act real childish.
Yes. And I just wanted to just say this, just a quick 30 seconds. It takes time
Mm-hmm.
to get to where we are. It took me 5 years sitting in the chair. I think it took Marlene the same amount of time, 7 years for her. And Tracy Lee, I'm sure it took years and still is going through it, and we're not just sitting up here saying some stuff. No, this is our lives, this is how we made it. And that is why I wrote the song that you're just about to hear is I Made It. Because we did. We made it. It's a lot of people sitting in them chairs and they don't make it. They can't. They don't know how to call on the name of Jesus. They don't know. They just quit. Just like addicts on crack and cocaine and whatever ever that they do out there. Some make it and some don't. But I can say, sitting here today, me, Tracy Lee, and Marlene, we made it. Okay. And with that said, I am the Boss Life Online, the content creator for the Boss Life Online. This channel may not be for everybody, but it is for somebody. With that said, bye-bye, everybody. And we're going to play our theme song, We Made It.
Forgive me, I love me. I've been blessed that I have made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? Forgive me, I love me. I've been blessed that I have made it through. I'm stronger and worthy. I am enough now. What about you? Ooh, hey, yeah.